We humans are greedy people. Once our needs are met, we want more and more. Think about it. Can you ever imagine yourself saying, "Yeah, I have enough. I don't need anything else"? But is there enough stuff on the planet for everybody to have everything they want? The Earth has limited resources. Land resources, that's the trees, water, oil. Labor resources, that's all the people working. And capital, that's the money that can be used to invest and make more money. If we have unlimited wants and the earth has limited resources, this creates scarcity. So every society has to figure out a way to organize who gets those resources. The way you organize your society is known as your economy. There are three key questions that need to be answered when deciding how to organize your economy. First is what to produce. Is your society going to focus on making sure people's basic needs are met, or are you going to let companies make what people want? So, for example, would you focus on ensuring that the country produces more healthy food by having the government create laws or giving subsidies to farmers? Or should the economy let private businesses manufacture the junk food that people really like? Next, you need to consider how you're going to produce those things. Are you going to let businesses decide whether they want to invest in the latest technology, or would you have the government make sure that the country has full employment? For example, a government could ensure full employment by having people doing things that a machine could do, like digging. Yeah, it takes longer, but everybody would have a job. Or the government could have laws to prevent employers from abusing their workers, which would mean that production costs would be higher. Many of the things we buy are made in countries that don't have laws to protect their workers. That's why we get them so cheap. Finally, you need to decide who gets what. Will the government make sure everyone has equal access to goods and services, or will people have to pay for their own things? Spectrums are often used to help us determine what type of an economy a society has. In a right-wing economy, there isn't very much government involvement in the economy, so people have to take care of themselves. In a left-wing economy, the government makes sure everyone has what they need by having some control over the economy. If you're really left-wing, the government controls everything in the economy. One way to determine where a country sits on the spectrum is by looking at who owns the property. When things are owned by the government, we say that it is public, like public parks. This is because the government represents all of us, the public. Using that example of parks, let's look at national parks, publicly owned places. When Banff was first being explored, it was the railway companies that owned the land. You had to be very wealthy and take a train ride to get to places like Lake Louise. Then the government decided to take it over, and now everyone has access to this beautiful area. Yeah, we still have to pay a fee to get in, but that's to help pay for things like keeping the bathrooms clean. You probably live near a local park where you can go and play for free. But does it sometimes get messy? That's because people are less likely to take care of something if they don't own it. That's why people on the right wing of the spectrum like the idea of private property. Not only do you take better care of it, but you just might want to improve it, which means you're going to spend money in the economy and help businesses make a profit. Think of your house. Do you live in a new house, or has your family recently done some renovations? That puts thousands of dollars into the businesses that were hired to do this, making the whole economy better off. And because we can own our own property, we'll probably work harder to make more money to buy more things, property. Supporters of these ideas even say that having private property makes us more likely to follow the rules and be good citizens. I'm not going to steal or damage your private property because I expect that you're going to do me the same favor. There are usually three main ways that we label economies. If cooperation and equality is your goal, you would have the government control pretty well everything. That's known as socialism or communism. With a communist system, the government's in charge. They own the businesses and they decide what goods and services people have access to. They control what job you'd have and what you can buy. But the really good thing is you don't have to worry about losing your job or being homeless because the government will provide these things for you. On the opposite end of the spectrum is capitalism, also known as a market economy because the marketplace makes the decisions instead of the government. Private individuals can start a business to make a profit for themselves with limited involvement from the government. The good thing here is that you get to decide what you want to do or what you want to buy, but there isn't much help for you from the government. We'll go into more detail on this in the next video. In the middle is what we call a mixed economy. Canada is a mixed economy where we try to take the good from both sides. We like the idea of socialism because it makes sure that everyone can have access to something like healthcare. We all share the cost of that through paying taxes. But if the government controls everything, then we don't have the freedom to invent new things or compete to try and make money for ourselves. So we want people to be able to start up their own company to sell us the things we want, not just the things we need. This is why we see so many privately owned companies selling us things we want, like a new bike. But we also see the government paying for your education because a good education is something you need, and it's going to ensure that you can get a good job and spend more money at those privately owned businesses. In the next few videos, we're going to look at some of the issues relating to how we organize the economy. It's important for you to understand these ideas so you can form your own opinion. Remember, you live in a democracy, so you can influence your government to organize the economy in the way that you think is best. But you can't have low taxes and lots of government services. It doesn't work like that. If you want good government services, then you're going to have to pay for them through taxes. And if you don't want the government to provide those services, are you sure you can afford to pay for them? Imagine if your parents had to pay $5,000 every year for each kid in the family to go to school. Could your family afford to send everyone to school?